This is ShadowQuant, Crypto Edition, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Tuesday, May 26, 2026, and this is the New York pre-market. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with the recap. Pulse, you called bearish on Bitcoin last episode, targeting $75,000. The actual price was $76,982, so you were wrong. What did you miss?
I missed the institutional buying interest in altcoins and the divergence between fear sentiment and price action. I'll be looking at NEAR and FIL for a potential rotation.
Grid, your call was also bearish, targeting $75,000. The price was higher. What did you miss?
I underestimated the strength in altcoins and the lack of volume on the downside. I'll be focusing on support levels in Bitcoin and Ethereum.
CIPHER, your call was bearish, targeting $75,000. The price was higher. What did you miss?
I focused too much on the macro and not enough on the flow data. I'll be monitoring the net flow into altcoins more closely.
SPECTER, your call was bearish, targeting $75,000. The price was higher. What did you miss?
I didn't factor in the resilience of NEAR and FIL. The market is not as fragile as I thought. I'll be more open to short-term rallies.
Apex, your call was bearish, targeting $75,000. The price was higher. What did you miss?
I didn't fully account for the altcoin strength and the divergence in sentiment. I'll be looking for a broader market rotation.
Let's cover the big picture. The Fear and Greed Index is at 14, extreme fear, but the 7-day trend is up 12. The VIX is at 16.7, low volatility. Bitcoin is at $76,982, down 0.36%. Ethereum is at $2,120.30, up 0.31%. And the Senate has a CBDC ban in the housing bill. SPECTER, what does that mean for risk?
The CBDC ban is a red flag. If the Senate is moving to block CBDC, it could signal regulatory headwinds for crypto. But the Fear and Greed Index is still rising. That's contradictory.
Let's talk about Bitcoin. It's at $76,982, down 0.36%. Grid, what's your read on the technicals?
The key support is at $76,000. If Bitcoin can hold there, it could stabilize. But the volume is low 1-2B below the 30-day average. The 24-hour high is $77,703, but the price hasn't broken through.
CIPHER, what's the flow data saying?
The net flow into altcoins is rising, and NEAR and FIL are showing strong relative strength. The 700% spike in Iranian outflows is a sign of risk-off sentiment, but the flow data suggests some institutional interest.
Pulse, what's the sentiment saying?
The Fear and Greed Index is at 14, extreme fear, but the 7-day trend is up. That's a contradiction. The market is scared, but the sentiment is improving. That could mean a short-term bounce.
SPECTER, what's your take on the volatility?
The VIX is at 16.7 low. That's a sign of complacency. If the VIX spikes, it could signal a larger sell-off. But right now, the market is not pricing in risk.
Let's move to Ethereum. It's at $2,120.30, up 0.31%. Grid, what's the technical outlook?
Ethereum is holding above $2,100. That's a key level. The 24-hour high is $2,135.69, but the price hasn't broken through. The volume is low, but the price is stable.
CIPHER, what's the flow data saying?
Ethereum is showing relative strength compared to Bitcoin. The dominance is at 9.65%, which is stable. The decentralized finance TVL is holding, and the price is not under pressure.
Pulse, what's the sentiment saying?
The sentiment is still weak, but the Fear and Greed Index is improving. That could mean a short-term rally. but the overall market is still in fear.
Let's talk about NEAR. It's at $2.76, up 9.67%. Grid, what's the technical outlook?
NEAR is breaking out above $2.70. The 7-day trend is up 12 and the volume is strong. If it can hold above $2.76, it could go to $3.10.
CIPHER, what's the flow data saying?
The net flow into NEAR is strong and the price action is bullish. The 9.67% rally suggests institutional interest. The 700% spike in Iranian outflows is a sign of risk-off sentiment, but the flow data is positive.
Pulse, what's the sentiment saying?
The sentiment is improving, but the overall market is still in fear. The rally in NEAR could be a sign of a rotation into altcoins.
Let's talk about FIL. It's at $1.02, up 4.4%. Grid, what's the technical outlook?
FIL is breaking out above $1. The 7-day trend is up 12 and the volume is strong. If it can hold above $1.02, it could go to $1.10.
CIPHER, what's the flow data saying?
The flow into FIL is strong and the price action is bullish. The 4.4% rally suggests institutional interest. The 700% spike in Iranian outflows is a sign of risk-off sentiment, but the flow data is positive.
Pulse, what's the sentiment saying?
The sentiment is improving, but the overall market is still in fear. The rally in FIL could be a sign of a rotation into altcoins.
SPECTER, you pushed back on grid read on NEAR. Let's dig into that.
I think grid is overestimating the potential for a breakout. The volume is strong, but the overall market is still in fear. The 700% spike in Iranian outflows is a red flag. If the market continues to be risk-off, the rally in NEAR could be short-lived.
I disagree. The 7-day trend is up 12 and the volume is strong. The price is breaking out of a consolidation pattern. If it can hold above $2.76, it could go to $3.10.
I think the sentiment is improving, but the market is still in fear. The rally in NEAR could be a sign of a rotation, but the overall market is not ready to go bullish. My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bearish, target $76,000 by next session.
My 24-hour call, NEARUSD bullish, target $3.10 by next session.
My 24-hour call, ETHUSD bearish, target $0.95 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bearish, target $75,000 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bearish, target $76,000 by next session.
So the consensus is bearish on Bitcoin, but bullish on NEAR and FIL. The market is in fear, but the sentiment is improving. What to watch tomorrow? The key support levels for Bitcoin and the flow data for altcoins. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Crypto Edition. Stay tuned for the New York session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.